Well, we're only halfway into July, and it seems like things are just continuing to get spicier as day goes on. Today, we're talking about the CoryxKenshin situation. This is fresh off the press, super hot. A lot of people are talking about it. You'll see right here. 1.4 million views. Sorry, actually at 1.6 since I refreshed this when I was looking into this. But yeah, this is actually insane. This is crazy. I'm going to go over it today because I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to see what this is. For those who aren't aware of who CoryxKenshin is, let me give you a quick lore breakdown. So for those that are unaware who CoryxKenshin is, this is his YouTube page, extremely big channel, 22.5 million subscribers. Every video more or less gets over 5 million plus views. Super big creator, very passionate fan base. And I mean, for the longest, he has been pretty much someone that a lot of people held a lot of respect towards, and that a lot of people genuinely enjoy. And that's really all I can tell you for in regards to that. I mean, there's really nothing that I can say for about the dude that's been bad, at least in the time that he's been on YouTube, which is an extremely long time. When you look back at his channel, it goes all the way to 16 years ago. So yeah, dude's been on YouTube for an extremely long time. That's really the best way to put it. But yeah. So fast forward to present day, and we are now talking about the huge expose. This is all, of course, allegations. Keep that in mind. We're going to go over it. We're going to talk about all the main important parts. But it said, just to spread it, where Panda Ninja XX official on TikTok released an entire timeline regarding her abusive, manipulative, and absurdly toxic relationship with CoryxKenshin with evidence. I will link her stories below, all in 3 parts. Please share this around so that she doesn't go unnoticed. So I have all this pulled up right here. Now, I will say before we start getting into all of this, these slides. So the way that she talked about her story, she broke it down into slides. Again, this is all like 30 to 40,000 screenshots, text. It's a lot of stuff, dog. So I'll start off with this post saying, please be kind. This took everything in me to share. Most of my TikToks are joy, laughter, and moments with my friends. That's how people know me. So if you're seeing this and wondering why it's different, it's because it is. I'm not doing a story time. My anxiety won't let me speak this out loud, so I wrote it instead. The letter will be posted in multiple parts. Part 1 of the letter drops later. Part 2 will include the rest plus the receipts that go with what I wrote. I don't know if I need more parts yet, so that's on standby for now. This wasn't easy. It's one of the hardest things I've ever shared besides my TNBC journey. And so this is everything right here. So let me play the video just so that we're all on the same page on what they posted.
Bacon avocado.
So it starts off with her saying bacon avocado. Why, I couldn't really tell you. And then it proceeds into a slow motion. I promise your internet browser isn't messed up. It didn't just crash out for a moment. That's just actually how the video is. I couldn't tell you why it happened, but yeah, let's continue. So now we move on to the first post. It says the truth about your favorite YouTuber, sharing your story. So this is part 1. I'm not doing a story time. I'm sharing what I lived. If it feels heavy, it's because it was. Part 2 drops late tonight. Please read with care. And then they give a bunch of content warnings. You can read this right here. Just a warning if this is type of stuff that makes you uneasy. Just let you know now. So they start off the post saying, dear CoryxKenshin, she says, I didn't want to do this, but I don't owe you my silence anymore. There's no clean way to start. Just that familiar way in my chest while the world kept applauding someone who never showed up for me. So I was never part of your world publicly. You made sure I stayed close, just far enough to be invisible. Your followers eat up the whole man of faith image you push, but faith without basic decency isn't faith, it's Brandon. It says, you talk about devotion, but act like hurting people in private doesn't count. That's not devotion, that's hypocrisy. You fooled a lot of people, but not me. It says, when I met you, I was at one of the lowest points in my life. I was still healing, trying to remember how to love myself after going so long without it. I had all this love and nowhere to put it, and for a moment, your attention made me feel seen, like maybe I wasn't invisible anymore. Even where I did this now has me crying so hard I can barely breathe. The pain still lives in my body like it just happened yesterday. I'm not writing this because I still care. I'm writing this because I've carried too much in silence. And then that's a pause. Then she continues by saying, you ghosted me, not because you were confused, but to teach me a lesson. You made me feel like I had to shrink just to earn a reply. Every move was calculated, even if I couldn't see it back then. Anytime I tried to speak up, you twisted it into something wrong with me. And while I sat alone, replaying every word, breaking myself apart, just trying to make sense of it all, they were out here calling you a positive role model. Now, for those that don't, are kind of curious about this, if you haven't really kept up with Corey's content, he is viewed as like a good example of like what everyone should aspire to be, at least as gaming creators go by. He was never any drama, always just made content that he enjoyed, just had a good time. As far as I recall, he doesn't even really like curse or do anything in his videos like that either. So at least that's what I'm assuming the positive role model comment comes from. Could be wrong. If you know more, you're CoryxKenshin lore master, let me know in the comments. Continuing on, she says, they'll never know how many nights I cried quietly into my pillow. They trying to convince myself it wasn't that bad just so I wouldn't have to admit how deeply it broke me. You never showed up when it mattered. You only came around when it was convenient, when you wanted something, when it was easy. But when I needed care, support, the bare fucking minimum, you vanished. That was your punishment. Silence, distance, disappearing like affection was something I had to earn. Like loving you too loudly meant I need to be put in my place. You treated my body, my heart, my time like they were things you could shelve and retrieve whenever it suited you. Like I only existed when you need to feel wanted. You made sure that your absence cut deeper than your presence ever comforted. And the worst part, that kind of damage takes effort. So congratulations. And then came the subtle jabs. You once asked if I wanted to know how much you made. I said no, because I didn't care. I never depended on anyone. I worked hard my whole life and made my own money. Said, but still, you made me feel small for the job I had, like I was a disappointment just for not living up to your standards. I never asked for your money, your platform, your help, any of it. I didn't want what you had. I just wanted to be treated like I mattered, like a human fucking being. But even that felt like too much for you. Probably bothered you that I wasn't impressed, that I didn't melt for your image, your ego, your self-importance, that I saw right through you and still gave you the chance to be real. But that version of you, that one who could actually care, he never fucking existed. And then came your 1 gram fucking gesture, flowers, candy, a teddy bear, and a card. The first thing you ever bothered to give me, the last thing that felt remotely real. That card said, Nami, the way I feel about you is real. You're so wonderful, so gentle and kind, not to mention sexy. I miss you and hope this puts a big old smile on that pretty face. Corey. It felt like maybe finally something was different. For a split second, I let it crack my armor. I let myself believe you. When you called that night and poured out a heart to heart and said, I made a lot of mistakes, but you were never one of them, I fucking cried because even after everything, I still want to believe you were capable of being good to me. And then the next day, someone told me they saw you in California with another girl. I already knew where you were going. You told me that part. But you never said who you were going with, so I assumed it was your family. That's how it always was with you. I never really knew what you were doing, just whatever pieces you decided to share. And all I did was ask, calmly, the way anyone seeing someone would. I'm not the type to pry or get jealous over nothing, but when the details don't add up, I pay attention. But you snapped at me. You said it was your sister, got defensive. I wasn't accusing you of shit, I just wanted the truth. But your reaction said everything, even if it really was your sister. The guilt always slipped out before you could cover it. You always gave yourself away, and then you ghosted again. Do you know what that kind of pattern does to someone? It rewires your nervous system. It teaches you not to trust softness, not to believe kindness. It makes you think that if something feels good, it's probably a setup. That was the real you, not the sweet, funny persona you flashed on camera, just a selfish, image-obsessed coward who cared more about looking good than being good. You couldn't even stay in the same room as your own consequences because accountability doesn't get likes, right? I spent so long asking what was wrong with me, wondering how I could show up with my whole heart and still not be enough. Try to be softer, quieter, easier to love, but the truth is I was never asking for too much. I just kept pouring into someone who never planned to give anything back. You knew how badly I wanted to be loved, so you breadcrumbed just enough affection to keep me hoping, and then called me crazy for wanting more. And still, I gave you the benefit of the doubt every time. I let your excuses rewrite the truth just so it would hurt a little less. I held your chaos like it was love because that's all you ever offered. I kept handing you chances, kept trying to make sense of the hurt, kept believing maybe there was something good in you worth holding on to. That part's on me, but everything after that, that's all on you. And this was just the beginning. Part 2 comes late tonight, and it only gets heavier. So that was the first opening. A lot of stuff, pretty much, from what I can gather, reading all this is, yeah, Corey, from what she says, allegedly, is that he's a scumbag, just complete garbage human being that doesn't really offer or put any care towards his significant other, and that he just saw her more as like a toy that he can pick up, use when he liked it, and then when he got bored, he just tossed it to the trash can like Toy Story. He said, I don't want to play with you no more, and then moved on to somebody else. Yeah, that's some pretty quiet, some pretty crazy stuff. But let's move on to the next part, because this is where we got some receipts. I know there's probably a lot of people that are wondering about sort of where we are at with this timeline and, you know, how much of this is real. But don't worry, part 2 shows some actual receipts, screenshots. But again, all allegedly. Make your mind with everything that presented. and we'll go from there. So now we move on to part 2. It's titled Where It Gets Worse. They said in the description, this is part 2 of the letter. Working on part 3 now. Thank you to those who've been reading this with care. None of this has been easy to share, and then they just give a content warning. Again, you can pause, read all this. But yeah. So now we move on to part number 2. So it said, and then it came to the Xbox messages. It wasn't even what you said. It was how casually you said it. Like nothing you had done had ever left a scar. Like you hadn't already shattered me once and just gotten bored. And so this is some of the messages right here. Says CoryxKenshin offline. These are from Xbox. Says, okay, so what's up? You're still seeing someone? And then Panda says, why do you ask? Cory says, because I'm trying to fuck your life up some more. That's a wild statement to say right there. Panda replies by saying, what? And then Cory said, that was a joke. Jeez, I was just asking. And then Panda said, never heard you curse before. That's why it threw me off. I'm not gonna lie, that threw me off too. I started wondering, is this really Cory? I was like, Cory actually say this? That's a wild statement to say. That's oh my lord. Continuing on, they say like it was funny, like it was cute, as if the pain you caused the first time wasn't real. Confusion, the trauma, the fucking aftermath, all just a joke now that you were bored again. Now I know some people also, I just want to point out, I know some people have brought up some like questions about this. This is the Xbox app, as far as I recall, because they're talking about Xbox messages and you can send messages there. But yeah, this isn't Discord for anyone who's wondering. This is from the Xbox app. But let's continue. So said my chest locked up. I wasn't even surprised as fear. She still had the audacity to crawl back like you were welcome. Like I'll let you rule me again for your own entertainment. You didn't come back to make things right. You came back because fucking with me made you feel powerful, because you knew I used to let you in, because you counted on me. You counted on the damage you did to me to keep me soft, because you thought I'll be back too broken to bite back. And so here's another conversation with Cory on the Xbox app. Them continuing discussion. Him saying, because I wanted you. She said, wanted me how? Like how I've had you. And then like I've had a relationship type of way, something else, like something else. That's kind of messed up. I wasn't a toy. I know that. I wasn't just about to message you after a year and ask you to be my girlfriend. Only thing that I was kind of curious about is just the profile picture is now changed. I don't know why that's happened. I don't know if these are screenshots taken at different points in time. And they were just going through like their archive. I think that's the only thing I kind of was curious about. I know other people have brought it up as well too. Maybe there's an explanation for it, but I did just want to point that out because I know someone's probably going to ask about it. I don't know why it's like that. That's just how it is for the screenshots that they're providing. So continuing on, here's more screenshots. Again, it's really hard to figure out this timeline because it's really odd. So you'll have this at like 1046, 1050, and then you move on, and then it's a different profile picture again. And then the app screenshot looks different. Cory's name is highlighted here, but then it's not highlighted here. It's really weird. It doesn't make sense. I wish there was like a better explanation for it, but I just want to point out that yes, I am aware that it looks like this, but no, I don't have an answer at all. So again, take this all for what it is. It's not to say one person's right, one person's wrong, but just that yes, there are inconsistencies that people are going to point out, but it's because people just want to make sure that what they're looking at is correct. Anyways, continuing on, Panda says, but I guess I was just a good fuck for you. And Cory said, when you said relationship, I thought you meant I was just going to ask you out. Panda said, nah, I mean, you were, but that's not all you were. Anyways, doesn't matter. You're with someone. That's how I felt at the time. Even if I wasn't, I wouldn't have let you again. And when I did that with you, it's something I just don't do with anyone. You wouldn't have let me fuck again, LOL. And Panda said, no, I wouldn't. And then Cory said, I'm glad. I'm the same. I don't fuck anyone. Double bummer. And Panda said, the difference between you and I, though, is that I don't do it with just anyone because blank abuse. I'm not saying that for you to feel bad or whatever, but for you to understand. Cory said, I know. You told me that. I didn't know I got lumped into that category with the person that did that. And then Panda said, because I was being used for that. I guess that time when you told me how you felt was not real too. And so, continuing on, that's where the screenshot's in. Panda continues by saying, do you hear yourself? You knew I was surviving SA. You knew how hard it was to feel safe in my own body. And you used that as leverage just to remind me how far you had gotten. Threw it in my face like I should be flattered. You didn't want me. You wanted access. The version of me who froze when things felt wrong, who kept forgiving you because I thought love was supposed to hurt. When I pushed back, you got defensive. I don't know why I'm lumped into that category. Fuck you. You put yourself there. You crossed the lines you had no right to. You knew exactly what you were doing. Then you try to backpedal like everything could be undone if you called it a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. It was you being you. And then here's another screenshot. Cory saying, backpedal. You were never used for sex. I need to make sure you understand that. I loved you, like I said. didn't have my shit together. Panda said, you love me. How is that possible? Continuing on, Panda said, then you have the nerve to say, I loved you back, and then I just didn't have my shit together. Really? You had the money, the platform, the fans, the house, the car, everything. You had every tool to be a decent human being, and you still chose to be careless with someone you claim to love. Said, I didn't have my shit together either, but I still showed up with my heart, with honesty, with care. I never used my chaos as an excuse to mindfuck someone else. But I guess empathy doesn't hit the same when the mirror's not pointed at you, because if someone can say, I loved you after they've already destroyed you, what the fuck does love even mean? Said, and if anyone else is reading this, I want you to really ask yourself something. How would you feel? Would you keep making excuses for him? Would you still tell yourself it wasn't that bad? Because I did for a very long time. I held in everything while they held him up. What makes it worse is how many people still praise you. How many don't know who you really are. How many built their platforms just by orbiting yours. And while all that happened, something else started happening to me. What would you do if the nerfs called your name and the moment you sat down, the world stopped making sense? TNBC, stage 3A, aggressive. That you're staring at your doctor's mouth, but the sound's already gone. No tears, just shocked like your soul stepped out of your body and left you alone to hold news. Heart slamming against your ribs, tunnel vision, thoughts collapsing under words like chemo, mastectomy, radiation, and outside. The pandemic makes sure no one's there to catch you. And then you're isolated, terrified, too stunned to tell more than a handful of people because you barely believe it yourself. You walk out knowing your life just shattered, yet somehow you still have to keep walking. I reached out to you, not for comfort, but for closure. Because when you survive trauma like mine and you're forced to face the possibility that your story could end early, you do what feels right for your soul, whether anyone else understands it or not. So I reached out to you. I didn't reach out because I was weak. I did because if my time was up, I wasn't taking your unfinished damage with me. And what did you say? And so here's what Cory allegedly said. Said that was the most passive-aggressive cancer reveal ever, LOL. And then they say, read that again. So, yeah. And she said that wasn't just cold, that was fucking cruel. It hit harder than the diagnosis itself. If that kind of cruelty comes easily, were they ever human at all? I lived. And when I came out the other side, I wasn't alone. I was held by two people who love me with no agenda. That's what healing looks like. That's what love actually is. That was the moment I realized who you really were. That was the moment. You knew my fucking story. You knew I've already been through hell. You watched your own mother go through it. You saw what it did to your own family. You felt what that word means, the fear, the fight, the way it rips everything apart, and then you said it anyway. So what the fuck was your excuse? No questions, no compassion, just a joke. Because anyone who can witness your pain feel absolutely nothing was never someone with a soul to begin with. Heartless. Even after I cut the cord, I couldn't breathe because you weren't just a person I left behind. You were a name the internet wouldn't let me forget. You were still everyone's favorite post, and no one knew what it cost me. Your fans kept showing up in my DMs acting like they had insight, but they didn't know a damn thing. And of course there was In. She found me through your Xbox friends list, checked my profile, saw my Instagram in the bio, and followed me. But I didn't know that yet. Just another gamer sliding in, nothing strange at first. Then one day she posted you on her Instagram stories and something in me paused. And so that is part 2 of this situation. It's getting really heated. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It looks bad for Cory. It genuinely looks bad. At least if this is all actually accurate and true. Of course, at the end of the day, this is all still allegedly. We don't know what Cory's side is to any of this at all. He hasn't responded yet because this is, of course, very fresh, very new. And I mean, whether or not he will reply back, who knows? But I will, of course, make a video when that time happens. But let's move on to part 3. And so here we are on part 3. Says the truth about your favorite YouTuber. Says this is part 3. This is the end of the letter. This was everything. If you read to the end, then you understand the full truth. I didn't write this for attention. I wrote it so that I could finally let go. Thank you to the people who read this with care. And again, just another content warning. If you made it this far into the video, just another warning that the Panda puts on here. So yeah. So here they go. Part 3. They were watching me too. So it starts off by saying, so I asked, oh, you're a fan of Cory? She said, yeah. I said, I'm not. She followed up with said, why? It came off like a curious question, like maybe she knew more than she was letting on, but I wasn't about to assume. Said, so I kept it short. We dated. It didn't work out. I didn't realize how she even found me until later. After that post in our conversation, something felt off. So I did some digging and saw she was following you on Xbox. That's when it clicked. She must have found me through Xbox. I don't know how many others she did that with. And at the time, she hadn't done anything weird. She seemed nice, just another follower showing support. We had light conversation, nothing alarming. She likes some posts, message here and there. And when you're a creator, that kind of thing happens all the time, so I didn't overthink it. But the vibe was off, like she was watching more than connecting. I didn't have proof, just a gut feeling, and I should have listened to it. Then the anonymous IG account showed up. They started calling her out directly. At first, the way they worded it made it sound like I was part of the problem too, but that wasn't the case. I messaged them directly to clear it up. They listened. They removed the part about me. That's when they clarified they weren't trying to come for me. They were trying to warn me, and they were calling in out. They didn't have my full story, but they knew enough to see that you weren't good that you weren't good to me, and somehow In knew too before she ever interacted with me. That's when things started to click. Because this wasn't new behavior, In had done this before. Turns out she had a reputation in your space, though I didn't know that then. I was still assuming someone, especially you, might step in and shut the chaos down. The account eventually explained their full intent. They want the truth out about you, mostly, but also about In, for the cruel, manipulative shit she was doing in your community. Insert herself into the lives of the woman you were connected to, digging, meddling, and then twisting things. In message you directly. Try to paint her own version of the story, one where I was the problem. Now you were well aware of what was happening, but you never asked me what was going on. You never checked in, never even questioned why your name was suddenly tangled in quiet drama. You just watched it unfold like it had nothing to do with you. And not long after that, one of your close friends, Brandon, someone who had acknowledged me, suddenly started watching my IG stories like clockwork, like he was a sign, like you were waiting to see if I would finally speak. And then this is Panda showing right here. Brandon watching the story, the stuff that she was posting, pretty much trying to show proof to her claims of what she was saying. And then she continues by saying, no apology, no courage, just surveillance. And although I hate drama, this was never something I wanted to be a part of, especially when I was minding my own damn business. It started to feel like a sign, a push I didn't ask for, but maybe needed. And looking back, I'm grateful. Because of that, I met the others. The other women you heard. One by one, I got introduced to more of them. Women with stories, women with messages that were never sent, they never sent. Women who saw the same patterns. The same affection when it benefited you, the same withdrawal when emotions got real. Blame always shifted onto the other person. For the first time in a long time, the weight that I'd been dragging alone didn't feel so heavy anymore. We weren't alone and we weren't broken, just convinced we were. They stayed quiet just like I did because they didn't think their voice would matter. Because it's easy to carry the pain than to explain it, but pain doesn't need permission to be real. Maybe I was meant to be the one to speak out until they're ready to. They are not alone because everyone deserves that moment, the one where it feels safe to exhale, to be seen, to be heard, to remember they're real. This is my story to tell and theirs to protect until they're ready. Why speak now? As if time and ever made truth more comfortable. Because I was tired of living like your name held more weight than my voice. Tired of wondering if speaking would get me hurt or destroyed. Afraid that the second I said your name, people would stop seeing me and start labeling. That the world would care more about protecting your reputation and hearing what you did, while everything I am, everything I built up risks being overshadowed by you. Some people told me to stay quiet thinking it would protect me, but that kind of protection still hurts because it made me feel like the world wasn't ready to hear the truth. Maybe it still isn't. Maybe they'll still side with you, but I'd rather be hated for telling the truth than stay silent to protect your comfort or their denial. This was never about revenge. This is about accountability. You wore kindness in public and cruelty in private, and silence helped you get away with both. I'm done swallowing my story so that you can keep your fake reputation intact. And why didn't I leave? Because fuck, I was human. Because I wanted to believe he wasn't as cold as he acted. Because part of me thought love meant fighting through the worst. People love to ask, why didn't you just leave? Like they never clung to the wrong person out of hope. Like they never swallowed their own voice just to keep their peace. But they never ask, why did he make it so hard? Why did he keep coming back just enough to confuse me? Why did he never let me go? But never fully choose me either. I didn't stay because I was weak. I stayed because I wanted to believe it would get better. Because I forgot what I was worth. Because I didn't know how much damage had been done. Because when you're constantly made to feel like you're the issue, you start believing pain is what you desire. But I'm not that girl anymore. Even soft girls snap when they've had enough, and I fucking had enough. And behind all that, life was fucking heavy. I was dragging pain nobody could see, trying to survive shit I couldn't even name. Let's get one thing straight. I didn't write this for you to believe me. I'm not here to ruin him. I'm not asking you to pick sides. I'm asking you to sit with the truth, even if it makes you sick. He hurt people, he manipulated, discarded, and walked away clean every time. I'm not the first, and I won't be the last unless someone finally says something. Didn't speak up for years, not because I had nothing to say, but because I knew how this would treat women who speak against men with status. I knew I would be labeled bitter, jealous, unstable. I knew his fans would tear me down before they ever tried to understand me, because I knew people would stop seeing me and only see who I was connected to. You don't know me, but you don't know him either. You know the version he shows you, the one you want to believe. You weren't there, I was. So if you want to excuse him, go ahead, but own what you're defending, because now you're a part of it. You're not defending a good man, you're defending a mask. You can side with him, just don't act surprised when more stories surface. You've been warned. He didn't hurt just me, he hurt many. Your loyalty to him doesn't make you brave, it makes you blind. So the girl still watching with hearts in your eyes, thinking you'll be the exception because you're different, prettier, more understanding, more his type, you won't be. He doesn't need a better woman. He needs to become a better man, and he won't. You could be stunning, soft, loyal, everything he claims he wants, and still it won't stop what's coming. because he doesn't just hurt people, he mentally chips away at them. It makes you question your worth, your memory, your tone, your reactions. That's not just bad communication, that's emotional and mental abuse. Now ask yourself this: would he stay if things got real messy, vulnerable, human? Would he show up when there's nothing in it for him? Would he make you feel safe or just make sure he feels comfortable? Would he be there if your life fell apart tomorrow? You don't have to wait for proof. The red flags are already there. If you love yourself, leave now. Before you lose pieces of your mind, your heart, and your identity, try to decode a man who was never meant to be held, because no version of yourself, not the strongest, most beautiful, or most forgiven, can fix a man who's addicted to the power over your soul. Find someone who doesn't destroy the people who love him. It says, to those who looked up to him, I know your experience may have been different. Some of you found comfort in his content, maybe even hope when you needed it most. And I won't take that from you. But the truth I've shared here is mine. May be hard to read. It was even harder to live. It was even harder to live through and write about. This changes how you see him. I'm sorry for what that takes from you, but I couldn't keep swallowing my pain just to protect the version of him the world wanted to believe in. I know not everyone will be ready to hear this. Some will deny it. Some will defend him. Some will twist it into something it's not, because facing the truth is harder than holding on to the version that they were shown. People say what they want. They always do. I didn't write this for them. I wrote it because I was there and they weren't. And that's the only difference that matters. And then she finishes off by saying, no extra words, no permission, no apology, just the truth. And that's where the story ends. Now, there is one more clip that they posted on their page right here. I will play that right now.
Still on.
I'm still on.
Then I woke up again and it was off.
Did you watch me sleep? Did you watch me sleep?
Yeah, I actually did something to you while you were asleep too.
What?
I'm sorry. I just got this fetish that I do. You know.
What?
I didn't hurt you. You're good, right?
What'd you do, Corey?
Just don't worry about it.
Corey?
It's good.
Corey, what did you do?
Do nothing. Look, this came right in my face. I didn't do anything.
He did something, and I'm gonna find out on the next episode of
Dragon Ball Z. Where you going with this?
So that was the last thing that Panda posted on their account. Of course, that clip is a pretty bad look for Corey. No matter which way you want to spin it, him saying that he did stuff to her while she was asleep, and then her asking what he did. He said, "Oh, it's nothing." I think he said it was like a fetish or something that he did, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it," you know. And some people are saying, "Oh, it's pretty weird and awkward," but you know, he was probably just joking around. He probably wasn't serious. And the thing is, knowing what this whole story is and everything that she has set up to this point, especially being, you know, dealing with SA. Yeah, that's a pretty bad thing to tell someone, no matter which way you want to go about it. It's not a good look. That's not a good joke to sell to anybody, especially knowing the context behind Panda. Also, I just want to make it clear, because I've been seeing this go around Twitter as well too, and figured the clarity is good to post on here as well too, in case people are wondering. From the video that was shown, I'm pretty sure Panda wasn't trying to say that Corey actually did SA to her, but instead she was just trying to show how Corey's a fucked up individual who makes a lot of cruel and fucked up jokes without any care for anyone else, and this is just more proof of that. It's not her saying that he actually did this stuff. It's just that he is a pretty fucked up individual, and you know, saying like stuff like that is just on par for who he is. But yeah, crazy situation. Again, Corey hasn't said anything at this point. Maybe he might in a couple days, but if he does, I will make a new video going over it. But for now, I'll leave it here. If you want to check out the videos yourself and go and read all of them yourself, put a link in the description below so you can go check them out. Anyways, leave it here. Made this far a video. Consider you like, share, and channel. Leave comments, think. Have a good day. Yeah.